Hello. So this morning we had our in-house SAFE discussion, and we were looking at question 10.2 of Course 3. And the question reads, what does it mean to stretch ourselves without breaking when trying to engage in the practice of cherishing others? How can we do that and remain balanced at the same time? What happens when we break? Do you have a real-life example? If such a situation arose in the future, what ideas do you have for how to do it differently? So we tend to take about one question a week when we do these discussions, and we broadly cover it with whatever comes up, related topics, side tangents, whatever's alive for us at the moment. So my talk is going to be about this topic loosely. And this topic is quite timely for some of us. It can be a very busy time of year, approaching the end of a long, busy season, and many people are tired or sick, and we're learning to find a balance within ourselves that avoids the extremes of laziness and the manic push that leads to burnout and exhaustion. And this involves keeping our mind in our own lane, as Venerable Jigme says, that is working with and finding our own balance while not being judgmental about others for trying to find their balance. And this is a broad topic about how we approach our day and our responsibilities, but let's look at it relating to cherishing others as in the question. Shanti Deva talks about generosity and ethical conduct as states of mind. And he says, if the perfection of generosity were the alleviation of the world's poverty, then since beings are still starving now, in what manner did previous Buddhas perfect it? The perfection of generosity is said to be the thought to give all beings everything, together with the fruit of such a thought. Hence it is simply a state of mind. Nowhere has the killing of fish and other creatures been eradicated, for the attainment of merely the thought to forsake such things is explained as the perfection of moral discipline. So likewise, cherishing others is a mental state, a mental activity. And the balance we are working with involves the actions that flow out of that, and most importantly, what we do with our minds in relationship to this. Endeavoring to recognize what actions are helpful and what are not, being realistic about our own capacity, and relating to ourselves with compassion. So when we talk about stretching ourselves without breaking, we are talking about working with our capacity and even expanding our capacity without being unreasonable and running ourselves into the ground. So this stretching does not have to involve a high-tension thing like stretching a rubber band, but in more a flexibility and an expansion of our mind and our capacity. And breaking, to me, implies that we've pushed ourselves beyond the point of not being able to act with a happy mind. Beyond the point of engaging our activities with a willingfulness and joyfulness. Maybe even to the point of getting sick or resentful. And then, where is the mind of cherishing others? It's gone, slipped away as we've gone in beyond our capacity to maintain. When we work to our full capacity without going over, it is like running a car fuel tank. When we work to our full capacity without going over it, it is like not running a car's fuel tank empty before refilling it. We see the gauge getting low, and we go to the gas station and we refill the tank. We don't wait until the car is stalled on the side of the road and walk the last few miles with a gas can in our hand, cursing the whole way probably. If we push and push without any balance, we will find that our capacity diminishes rather than extending. And our joy will be hard to access. The farmer poet Wendell Berry wrote, and he wrote this in context of farming, but I'll relate it to what we have going on here. Don't worry and fret about the crops. After you've done all you can do for them, let them stand in the weather on their own. If the crop of any one year was all, a man would have to cut his throat every time it hailed. But the real products of a year's work are the farmer's mind and the cropland itself. If he raised a good crop at the cost of belittling himself or diminishing the ground, he has gained nothing. He will have to begin over again the next spring worse off than before. Let him receive the season's increments into his mind. Let him work it into the soil. The finest growth that farmland can produce is a careful farmer. Make the human race a better head. Make the world a better piece of ground. So to apply this to Buddhist practitioners, do what you can do. The important product of our day is how we have worked with our mind. And there's a story about the Buddha. He comes upon this landowner who is paying his farm workers. And the Buddha is coming by with his alms bowl, and the farmer says, renunciant, what have you done? Have you plowed? Have you sown? Have you reaped? And the Buddha says yes, and he talks about these things on a spiritual level. And I'm not going to go into that whole story, but the farmer gives him alms for the day too, because he says, oh yes, very good. So the important part of is what we do with our minds. Have we kept our values and our precepts in mind? Have we practiced mindfulness of what we are doing and what's going on in our mind? Have we been kind and compassionate to others and ourselves? And have we been motivated by our concern for the welfare of others? Or have we acted out of concern for the 8 worldly dharmas and trying to live up to fabricated identities? When we truly keep cherishing others as our motivation, when we have kept our mind calm and compassionate and mindful, then we will be joyful and approach tomorrow with renewed energy. When we contribute to the level that we can with our capacity, we can rejoice. And when we recognize that it's time to rest, we should rejoice that we've learned to recognize that and rest with a mind at ease. So we endeavor to develop love and compassion and kind of understanding of all sentient beings. To practice this, we bring these things into our daily interactions with the very beings we encounter directly in our day. And who are we with 24/7? Ourselves. Although we learn to overcome our self-preoccupation and cherish others, we don't exclude ourselves from the scope of our love and our compassion. It seems to me if we don't develop compassion towards ourselves, we won't have it to offer others. And vice versa. If we don't work with developing compassion towards others, we will lack compassion for ourselves. Regardless of the object, compassion needs to be a state of mind that we habituate ourselves towards, that we embrace and bring to all situations. And that takes time and effort. As with all things, we do the best we can and rejoice. And rejoicing, we can share our joy with others.